Hello and welcome to an overview and how to play video for Warriors of Jogu, an upcoming game from Monsoon Publishing, designed by Tony Chen. This is going to give you an idea of how the game plays. It is a two-player asymmetrical faction game where each player is going to choose an asymmetrical faction, and then you are going to shuffle that pre-constructed deck and draw a certain amount of cards, play cards back and forth. At the end of every round there will be one winner, and then whoever wins the most rounds by the end of 7 rounds, or whoever forces an opponent to lose all of their morale is the winner of Warriors of Jogu. So let me give you here an idea of what the game looks like and how it's going to play. I'd like to say first though that this is not a final production copy of Warriors of Jogu. Some of the elements in this game are going to be changed before you finally get the final product, especially some of the tokens are going to be upgraded, and some of the cards are still they're still working out some of the like nuts and bolts. So anyhow, not a final production, but it's very, very close and looks very, very good, as you'll see. Right, step 1 in Warriors of Jogu, players have 5 different factions to choose from. Each of these faction decks is going to offer a unique playstyle based on what types of cards you get. Each faction deck consists of 40 cards, and some of them are going to have different amounts of unique cards. There's going to be a lot of copies of cards in these decks, but each one has a unique feel. I'll talk about the different factions at the end of this video. Each player is also going to have a location deck. The location deck each has each of them are identical and has 2 copies of every location on the board, numbered 2 through 6. You're going to take this location deck, shuffle it, and at the start of every round, after you've drawn your 7 cards, and you can discard if you need to. At the first round, you just draw 7 cards because you don't have any. From that point forward, you can discard and then draw it back up to 7 to get the best cards. Then you're going to take 1 card, secretly look at it. That is going to be the location that you know is going to fight a battle. Your opponent's going to do the same thing, so you're not going to know necessarily what card they have. They might have the same card as you, in which case there's only going to be 1 battle fought, but in most cases there's going to be more than 1 battle that's going to be fought in a given round. So you look at the card and do not show it to your opponent. Your opponent does the same. They're going to look at a card, and one player is going to have the first player token, which is going to rotate at the end of every round, and that player is going to start by taking their hand of 7 cards and then choosing a card and playing it on one of the battlefields. You're allowed to play on any battlefield, even if there's not going to be a battle fought there. So if you were to play a card, you just put it right there, and the one major restriction, the main restriction is that the amount of card strength is listed in the upper left, and when you play that, you cannot exceed 10 strength in that location on both sides. So if there's 4 strength on one side, 5 strength on another side, I could play this because it's only a 1, but I could not play a card with strength 2 because that would then exceed 10, and 10 is as high as it can go. So basically you're going to keep taking turns back and forth playing a card from your hand onto the battlefield, and the cards have different effects. Some of them have effects when they are played, some of them have effects that resolve at the end of the round. Each deck is really going to be unique, and I'll talk about those at the end of this video. But the way that resolution works at the end of the round, so let's say that at the end of this round, this person, player A, knew that 4 was going to score, and player B knew that 3 was going to score. So let's say that there is a total of, let's just say that there's 3 that player B has in 3, and then player A is going to have, they also have 3. We'll give player A that, and we'll give player B 1 there. So just for purpose of this is the way resolution works in this game. You're going to take the amount of total strength that you have in each battlefield and multiply it by the number of that battlefield. So the 3 here is going to be worth 9 points of strength. Same on the other side, except over here, this 3 is actually going to be worth 12 points of strength, whereas this one is only going to be worth 4 points of strength because it's only a 1. What you'll do is you'll take those strengths, add them together, compare. First player wins any ties, and then whoever is the winner gets a victory point, which are double-sided over here, in their color on the round order track. There is 7 rounds in the game, and at the end of every round, you'll move the round order, and then you'll put either an A or a B based on who won. But that's not all. At the end, during cleanup, before you do cleanup, the loser side is actually going to look at all of their morale, which are these little diamonds on the card, and they're actually going to, for every unit they have on the board, they're going to lose that much morale. So this would be pretty devastating for this green player here, because he's got 3 diamonds on 4 different cards. That's 12 total morale. Players start the game with 23 morale and can lose it at the end of a round in which they lost. They lose morale equal to all of the units they played. So you're going to take 23 and subtract 12 from that. Now, in the future, player B only has 11 morale to work with. So it was a pretty poor round for that, but that was just a demonstration. You're going to keep on drawing another card and playing another location, playing another battle. It just keeps going back and forth until both players pass. And at the end of every round, you'll do a cleanup where all cards are going to get put into a discard pile. There are some factions that have stay tokens that get removed instead of removing cards. You'll continue to play until one player achieves 4 victories, because there's 7 rounds, so that's winning more than half, or until one player loses all of their morale and it goes down to 0, in which case the opposing player wins the game. So that's how you play Warriors of Jogu. It's a very simple game that I was able to teach to my wife, a non-gamer, in really, really short amount of time, and she picked up on it really quickly. So she enjoyed that this was a very simple and easy to teach game, though the decisions and sort of a lot of the effects of the cards are what make the game interesting. So let me talk about what each of these different decks is kind of themed around. First of all, let's talk about this purple deck, the Tribe Wu. Tribe Wu seems to be like themed around sort of like shamans and priestesses and kind of like druids. And they've got cards that are actually going to be gaining and losing morale for themselves. And they just have some really interesting sort of like, the Storm Prodigy is a strength 7, which is extremely high, like the single highest card in the 5 factions included in the base game. But your opponent gets to choose where it goes. So if you've clogged everything up and the only place that your opponent can choose is like the place that you know is scoring, that's how you can really use that to your advantage. There's other faction cards will let you, like I said, gain. They mostly seem to be messing around with the morale track. They're kind of an interesting one though, because none of the other ones in the base game mess with the morale track. Next is Gang of Mibbits, or I hope I'm saying that right. But anyway, the cards here are all really low strength. There's no card that's above a 2 strength. However, they involve a lot of tricks, a lot of misdirection and tricks and bluffing. Whenever you put out the Scrambler, when your opponent plays on that location, you have to move him. Same way with the well, not same way, but similarly with the gang cards. The deck is mostly composed of gang cards, more of these than any other card. There's like 13 of them, I think. And whenever you play them, every other gang card that you previously played is going to now swarm to that location you played it on. So it's like you're not really playing these cards where you want them until your last gang comes out, and then you want to be able to play there. My wife totally saw what I was doing in one game, and she blocked me from being able to go to the one place I hadn't gone to yet. And then she chuckled and beat the crap out of me, and I lost a lot of morale. So, a lot of misdirection, sort of stacking the deck, and you actually are going to get to draw cards in this with this faction, whereas most factions you just have your 7 cards at the start of every round. This one's going to let you actually draw cards. The Guardians or Guards of Keon is a... they actually have abilities to like peek at the next card coming up, and then they have cards that actually have these hold or stay tokens, which instead of removing them at the end of the round, you're actually going to remove one of these so they get to stay in play. So you can kind of plan for 2 or 3 turns in advance. They've got some other cards that are quite interesting because they're high valued cards, but they can only be played on extremely specific places on the board. They can't be played anywhere. And then this one right here, oh man, this is what she really hurt me with when I was talking about that green deck. She played this, and what this does is it makes it, it's a strength 5, but it says this location is not a battle location. So, boom. Ouch. The League of Agents is all about playing cards face down. You got several different types of cards, some of which are junior agents, some of which are senior agents that have higher strength, and then some of which are just smoke screens. And what you'll do whenever you play these, they get played face down, and they're treated as though they have a strength of 3 as long as they're face down, but you don't reveal them until the end of the round. So you're really able to do some bluffing because you're playing face down with this deck. And finally, the Engineers. They are actually going to, the Engineer cards are fairly simple, but you want to put these Engineer cards out because then you can put out towers. So it's like you have to put out builders, and then your builders are going to construct towers, and some of those towers are just bombs that just blow up your opposing units. And other ones are going to just give you more strength in that area. But basically, because each of the Engineers has a limitation of not being able to be played on a location where it would go above a capacity of 4, that really restricts where they can be used. So that they're just kind of like more of a tower defense almost sort of thing, where you've got to put out a builder, and then later on you'll get that location. So there's more planned expansions, but for now these are the 5 decks that you're going to get in the base game, and you'll just get to pair those up one against the other. I'd recommend the game goes fairly quick and short enough that if you pick a pairing, then try both of you playing as each of the different factions you choose. So that way you'll get a chance to see how both sides play, and ultimately that gives you a better idea than just playing as the one side. So this has been an overview of Warriors of Jogu. I'd like to thank my sponsor, Game Surplus. Go check them out, gamesurplus.com. They are an online game store that has the friendly service of a local game store, and they go out of their way to find the hard to find games and stuff, bringing in games from Essen. So go check them out. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to this channel, and also check out other things that I do, like the Longview podcast, Good, the Bored, and the Ugly podcast, and there will be an upcoming review of Warriors of Jogu from my video review series, The Salad Coefficient, in which I give an entertainment efficiency value to each game in addition to my personal opinions. So have a great time gaming, and I will catch you on the next video.